of Jesus.
In the name of
Satan, you bow your knee.
Satan, you bow your knee.
You fall on your face.
You fall on your face.
COVID-19.
COVID-19.
I blow the wind of God
The wind of God
on you.
on you.
I blow the wind of God, the wind of God. COVID-19. I blow the wind of God, the wind of God. COVID-19. Blow the wind of God, the wind of God. COVID-19. Blow the wind of God, the wind of God. COVID-19.
Ba-boom! With that, you know what's
COVID-19.
you know what's so fucking funny is like that song is so hype, and then it's over, and it just throws
So hype.
to us fucking sitting in our goddamn living rooms. Although,
To
You guys on a Skype call.
To a Skype call.
yeah. Although I gotta tell you, Tay, you look, dude. Did you move to the fucking Bahamas, dude? What the hell is going on?
I've just been exploring the edges of the earth.
You look like my buddy Chad from Instagram. Chad Goes Deep.
Hey, I was at this killer party in Beverly Hills, and I just fear that the government in LA is going to shut down host parties. Man.
And enough of that. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our very first ever Sickboy live stream show, and for everyone who is here, who is in attendance, we thank you for taking time out of your night to get fucking silly with us. I'm gonna give some housekeeping here. I've got so much shit in front of me, like with this broadcasting software.
Jeremie has an 8-screen layout.
It looks like NASA in your living room.
It's giving me.
Yeah.
It is giving me.
Have you guys ever watched Swordfish?
Fuck.
Yes.
Uh,
I love that movie.
What? You guys suck. So a little bit of housekeeping here. We're gonna be recording the show, so you can rewatch it to your heart's fucking content. And also, I want to take a second to say hello to all of our patrons who couldn't watch it live. We also love you. We love you just as much as everyone else who decided to actually carve time out of their schedule to be here with us. But we love you just as much. And feel free, whether you're here now or if you come later, to leave some comments. There's sections here where you can comment, where it says "say something nice" on the bottom right, and we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Again, this is our first time doing this, so we're kind of like we're dipping our little tipsy toesies in the water to see how this all pans out. So during the run of the show, there's going to be a quick intermission. So, if you have to get up, take a pee, take a shit, crack open another drink, whatever you need. And after the intermission, which will be very short, we're going to have maybe potentially a little surprise guest, which I'm really, really fucking excited for. If you are, speaking of beer, if you are running low on beer, you can order, if you're in Halifax, you can order some beer at home. I probably won't show up tonight, but it would show up tomorrow. Good Robot, first of all, thank you, Good Robot, for enabling myself and enabling Taylor during these tough times and sponsoring our live show by feeding us beer. So if you want to actually order some beer from Good Robot, there's a little call to action button there on the bottom. Click that, and you can order yourself.
Yeah, we're actually working on an integration for the next show that we do so that it's instantaneous. So you click on the order now button, and within, I guess not instantaneous, but within like 5 or 10 minutes, the guys from Good Robot are at your place. So yeah, hopefully stay tuned for that next time.
100%.
And I will add on there that when Jeremie said, if we're going to take a quick intermission, if you need to go to the bathroom and all that stuff, but do remember that this is on a computer or a phone for you, and we can't hear you. So you could actually take this to the bathroom, take a shit, take a piss, and continue to watch at the same time.
We encourage you to take us with you when you go doo-doo.
And please,
that's our favorites.
please put the poo-poo emoji in the chat when you're in the bathroom.
This is
and let us know.
This is already just fucking devolving into. After the intermission, we're actually going to change that button down there. So instead of buying beer from Good Robot, you can do something really nice. We're going to put a donate button so you can donate to Cystic Fibrosis Canada, because it is May, and after all, May is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month, along with 200 other awareness months, but it's the most important one because I have CF.
Yeah.
And so that's what you can do after the intermission. We also have some polls there. You are our patrons. You really do mean the world to us. And so there's some questions in there that might help us make your Patreon experience a little bit better. And then one last thing, we've got our measly intern, Lauren Sankey, a.k.a. Horan Skanky. We pay her in confetti, and she is getting paid in double confetti tonight because she is actually moderating the Q&A section. So there's the chat on the right, but there's also a Q&A that is very specific for questions. So if you want to leave questions in there for us or for our guest later, feel free to do it there.
Mm-hmm.
And
if she answers the questions well, we will not pay her.
One last thing before we actually get on with the show here. Little contest. If you post watching this show to your Instagram and tag @Sickboy Podcast, you're going to be entered to win a draw for a free shirt, because we have new merch that is on the way. And I'm actually really excited about this new merch because there's a shirt that we have that is my favorite thing in the world right now. So we'll enter your name to draw a free shirt. Now,
how exciting!
Let's get on with the show, guys. I want to kick this off. I want to kick this off with a fucking story, an embarrassing story that happened to me today. So, we've been setting up for this show. I've been working my ass off in this desk for like fucking weeks straight, trying to like put this together and make sure everything's lined up. Brian, you've been like helping a lot with like the digital aspect of it and graphics and stuff. And so, my eating habits haven't been great. And I'm hanging out here, and I get an email from someone that is going to be attending the show. Our friend Dila, a good friend of ours, and she sends this message where she says, "I'm stoked to attend your live event tonight. I love your faces, and I want to know how many poop stories are told. Maybe take a sip of liberation for each one. Warm regards, Dila." When I was reading that email, I was like, we're probably not going to touch on poop. And then, no fucking joke, as I'm reading the email, I literally shit my pants. I shit myself.
No, you didn't.
Dude, I did. I fucking farted. And I shit I shit myself about 4 hours ago,
Wait.
guys.
Oh my god!
Wait. I need a better visual. Where were you standing when this happened?
Standing. I was sitting right here.
No. You were sitting there in your chair and you just
Oh no!
Did
I
you
went,
wash that
I
chair?
went like this. Look, I went, oh, fuck.
You just poo-pooed yourself?
Yeah. So. God,
What was when was the last time? Like, what's the gap in between today and the last time that you shit yourself?
Maybe like 6 months ago.
That's fairly recent.
Okay. I have a better question. It is fairly recent, which leads me to ask this question.
I don't want to beat this to death.
In the last... Okay, but very quickly, how many times in the last 5 years have you shit yourself? Because it seems like, and I believe it was maybe Patrick earlier on that talked about gambling and losing. And I feel like if you gamble and lose enough, you just stop gambling maybe.
Yeah.
But it seems like 6 months
I
ago.
think some people have a problem.
What
Some
we'll
people
say is I
problem.
have a gambling problem. Yeah. And I would say at least probably 5 times in the last 2 years. Maybe 6 times maybe in the last 2 years.
You know what?
Maybe 7. It might be 7. It might be 7. Who knows? Anyway.
I have a feeling, Jared, that every time we do an episode on Crohn's, you just feel like you want to empathize a little bit deeper with the people that we're speaking to. So you just feel like maybe trying it out, just seeing how it feels.
Oh God. Yeah. It's
You're so brave. You're so brave, Jer.
I'm gonna say it. So okay, it is embarrassing, but I've gotten so fucking used to doing it now that I've just conceded to it, and it's just gonna keep happening. I'm sure. Let's move on from this. I'm fucking tired of talking about me pooping myself. Now it's starting to
Moving swiftly.
now it's starting to get a bit embarrassing. Listen, guys, there has been a you know, so we've been doing this fucking COVID thing, this quarantine thing for, it's crazy. I was thinking about it today. We've been doing this.
In a minute.
Yeah, it's been like over 2 months. The last time I was out was March 13th, and I was at Propeller with a couple of my good friends, and that was the last day I was like in public, which was a long fucking time ago. And if you had told me back then,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know, isn't that fucked? If you had told me back then that we'd still be where we are now, like it would be this long.
Can you imagine that? If I had said to you, hey, after today, you won't go in public for 2 months.
I mean, that if you told me that day, like the March 13th, I would have been like, you're fucked. That's fucking crazy. If you had told me that, if you had told me that like a week later, I would have been like, yeah, you're fucking probably right.
But that's the crazy thing. Like, it feels like, you know, this 2 months has felt like a long time. But to me, it feels like, even though like there's a conversation about, you know, provinces opening back up, it still feels like it could be another 2 months. It could be another 6 months.
Totally.
It could be even longer.
Well,
it depends.
On the topic then of opening things back up, which is technically kind of happening right now. You know, like we're hearing things about businesses. Like we're trying to open back up the healthcare system here in Halifax. You know, there's like I was talking to my barber today. She dropped off a package and she was like, we're thinking we're going to be back in like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and so things are slowly, you know, coming back to we're going to slowly get closer to getting back to some sort of state of normalcy, or at least a new normal. And you know, it's like we talked about this on the podcast last week about how it's going to look so fucking different now once we start opening up. Like, what are restaurants going to do? You know, there's this restaurant in Washington, D.C. that their idea is like they're keeping the tables as is, but they're spacing people out. And then in all the empty spaces, they're replacing those spaces with mannequins, which is fucking creepy, but whatever. And so, you know, you got stuff like that, which is
doesn't pay the bills.
No, not at all.
But at least you don't have to pay the servers to serve them.
So you got that
True.
shit going on, but then like, so I want to throw to this video of Nassau County. Where is that? Florida?
Another fucking place in Florida.
So so Florida's trying to like open back up, right? And there's a woman who's trying to describe how sports will work now that we're opening back up, and she's talking specifically about tennis. So here, load up this video, guys, because I wanna throw to it. This fucking tickled me pink.
I want to say this is first time for me. Haven't seen it.
Yeah, you guys haven't seen any of this stuff. So let me know when you're good to go.
Yep.
All right.
Every player, unless they're from the same household, has to bring their own tennis balls so that you don't touch other people's tennis balls with your hands. You can kick their balls, but you can't touch them. I'm going to blush, sorry. Of course,
The people laughing in the
if you're
background.
playing with someone in your household, you can't touch those tennis balls. To avoid confusion between whose balls are whose, you can use a marker, like a Sharpie, to mark out, to put an X, or put someone's initials on them. I would just say...
Oh my God,
no.
dude. Whose balls are whose? We'll never know. Dude,
Oh my
fucking
God.
funny is that poor lady.
You can-
What I love is like she
You can't touch them, but you can kick their balls.
Dude, I love that I'm a 32-year-old fucking grown man, and she's like, you know, arguably maybe like pushing 50, and still that shit's funny. You know what I mean? It's like people argue that it's low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit is so delicious. It's just the most.
But you hear
It
you
is.
hear all the people laughing in the background though too. Like
Yeah.
as soon as
Of course.
the words come out of her mouth, they're
It's
just like
objectively funny. Just like farting is objectively funny. But you know it's
just like me shitting myself at my
what's crazy is
work
that-
desk while I look out at people walking by. And,
Exactly. What's funny is that got written down. Like it's not like she showed up and walked up to the mic and then just said whatever came to her mind. I mean, like someone wrote that down and she knew what she was talking about, but only in the moment of actually saying it out loud to a group, to people.
Do you
was
think?
she like,
Do you think she?
oh shit, this sounds like I'm talking about playing with someone's balls?
Do you think she wrote that though? Would you guess
No,
that she?
I
No,
don't-
somebody else did, but
but-
when you write it, it probably reads way. You know, it's like comedy. Like comedy reads different than it is
Yeah,
when you
but-
see it.
But I don't know though, man. To me, it seemed like the person who wrote that too, though, was like
trying to fuck
was
with
a
her.
little bit in on the joke.
Yeah.
Like they
Maybe.
wrote that down and they were like, "This
Yeah.
is acceptable. She can go and say this for sure, but it's also fucking funny."
Yeah. Yeah, that I love that video. I watched it with Brady yesterday,
Hey.
and we were laughing so fucking hard.
I do want to kind of shift this to a more serious tone about this topic because I know I saw it come up in the questions,
balls?
but also
Whose balls you
opening,
can kick?
Opening, no guys, opening back
And
up.
touch.
Come on, guys.
Ah,
This is low hanging fruit. You're better than this. So I want to talk about opening back up because, I said that, hey, it's been 2 months and maybe it could be another 2 months. It could be another 6 months. It could be longer. But yes, we are starting to open up now. However, I'm curious, Jer, for you, like you're not going to be going out in public anytime soon. And it's kind of weird to think about like how, as we start to go back into public, we might start asking where certain people are, right? Like, oh, where's Jer? Oh, he's got cystic fibrosis. So yeah, he's not going to be around for a little bit. So like, when will you feel comfortable, Jer, going out into public?
Dude, I don't know.
That's a great question.
I actually don't know. I was having this conversation with Brady on Turn Me On. Specifically, I was like, when do you think I'll be able to like have sex again? When will I be able to casually date? When could I have someone over for a date? Because like it feels like it's that'll be a long time from now. And Brady was like, dude, I'm honestly like I feel like maybe 2 years. And I
Whoa.
was like,
do you think it's like vaccine? It's like the same shit as, and is that the answer for you going out?
dude, I don't fucking know, man.
Because I've been having
I
this
don't fucking
thought.
know.
I've been thinking about the way that like things have been shut down, and rightfully so. I mean, I'd way rather be on the more cautious side than not in something like this, especially when there's like so many unknowns and variables that are like, who knows? But you'll definitely get to a certain point where it will be kind of like sink or swim, like from an economic standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, in terms of like how we interact socially for a lot of people. And I wonder like if it will out of necessity come to a point where it's like, hey, we don't have a vaccine. These people with CF, people who with diabetes, people who are over a certain age or have certain health risks. I wonder if that's where it will go, where it's like, we're not going to tell you can't go outside and you can't go and do stuff.
Well,
but, like,
yeah. Well,
at your own risk.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that Brady and I talked about on the podcast, which was, I don't know. Like, so I haven't talked to a medical professional yet. I haven't talked to the CF clinic about what their thoughts are on that. My guess would be that, and I've kind of talked to this with my friend Andrew, who's an RT, but my guess would be that from someone like myself, I'll be one of the last ones who will truly want to even fuck with the idea of coming out until, it's like everything's supposed to be rolled out in increments, right? There's like phases. We're rolling out like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Like phase 4 is like the final phase. I'll likely be the final phase of like the person who's like, all right, cool, yeah, I'm gonna go to Good Robot and have some brews with my friends,
Yeah.
Is it for you though? Is this like I don't know. I tried like trying to put myself in your shoes. I wonder if there's like the feeling of like, oh fuck, like I live with this terminal like fatal genetic illness that has shortened my life expectancy. When I was born, or when I was like 10 years old, that I'd live to be 30, and you're past that now. Do you feel like time is fleeting? Like, there's this like urge to want to get back out sooner rather than later because you don't know like how many years you have with healthy lungs?
No, I haven't. I haven't so much been thinking about that. No, I haven't really been thinking about it in that sense. Although
I guess it's also like if you go out in public and get COVID-19, then those years are gonna get even fucking shorter, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, we had a question that came in through the Q&A there, and if you want to leave a Q&A, just on the bottom there it says Q&A, very specific. Chat's on the right, Q&A is a little further to the left. But someone had asked Jeremie, it was from Lena, what will the circumstances have to be for you to feel comfortable going out again? To be fucking quite honest with you, like I am very bad at I suffer from FOMO in a very big way. You know what I mean? Like, or at least I'm susceptible to it. So if I do like let it get to my fucking head enough, I'll probably end up going out way sooner than I should. But if I do that, I'm going to be going out with fucking gloves on. Like I'm going to look like a clown, you know, like I'm going to have gloves. I'm going to be like one of those people that like, you know, those pictures of people that you see on the bus with like wearing a fucking like a jug on their head. I got to find a fucking
that's
photo.
Totally that's the part of your brain that takes a hit of a joint when it's around and you're just really fucked up. And I'm like, no, Jared has put that in his lungs. No, and
Which
I can't
is
believe
fine.
that you did
Yeah,
it.
which I have done that a few times. Yeah, that's
Very rarely, but when it happens, it blows my mind.
I'm
like,
gonna be-
and your poor mom, I think, is watching this right now. And sorry, Maxine, but
sorry,
It's
Mom.
it's been very few times. I think in Jared and I's friendship, which has been now 10 years, 9 years, I think I've seen Jeremie inhale marijuana smoke twice, and one of them might have been a vaporizer.
I don't do it. Yeah, I don't do it often. That's a very, very rare.
not as much as you did.
Not as much as you used to. I will go back to one of the questions from the listeners here. When riding on Jeremie's good robot experience right before everything went south. I was in Ecuador, and the last place I publicly was a fucking airplane. And it was a hot mess in there. And I was going to get it.
Yeah,
That's where I was going to get it.
Nasty.
That was into the time that we were quarantining and isolating, though. Like you,
That's right.
Yeah, you were very
Yeah.
much out in public when like it wasn't
Very
really
much
a
so.
thing anymore.
well.
Airports. Yeah. Where were you, Bri?
I was also coming back from Florida, Orlando in an airplane. So it was basically back to Halifax, and then I got in my van and drove to Quebec, where I am now.
Listen, I speaking of rolling things back out and life getting back to normal. There's one good thing that comes out of crisis or times of crisis are great inventions, right? So. I don't know if you guys know this. Quick little like history lesson. Some amazing things that have come out. Some amazing inventions that have come out through history in times of crisis. Right. So some examples here. Did you guys know that M&Ms were actually created in a time of crisis? Were invented in a time of crisis. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. That's the M&M's like legendary tagline, right? Well, it actually comes from
crisis?
Wait.
Yeah, I'm about to give you the fucking history lesson. If you just sit down,
I didn't even know.
Shut up.
Is that why it's called M&M though? Melt in your mouth, not melt in your mouth. Melt in mouth.
No, because it. Yeah, it maybe is melt and I don't fucking know actually. Well, here, let me just shut the fuck up and let me read this. M&M's
Wait, what crisis was it again?
M&M's legendary tagline actually comes from the candy's origin. During the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. Forrest Mars, Sir Forrest Mars of the Mars Company, saw British soldiers eating pellets of chocolate coated in hard candy shell. The shell kept the chocolate from melting in the soldiers' hands. Mars patented the product and started producing M&Ms, exclusively selling to the military in World War II. Originally sold in milk chocolate, the candies now come in almost who fucking cares about that? So M&Ms, right? Okay, I got another one for you. This actually, Taylor, you're going to love this one. You're going to find this very interesting.
I have one too after this.
Ice cream sandwiches.
Pilates. Pilates, a favorite workout system for core strengthening, flexibility, and balance, gets its name from the man who invented it, physical trainer Joseph Pilates. That's a crazy name.
With an S?
Yeah, Pilates. Joseph Pilates.
I wonder if it's actually Pilates.
Yeah, Joseph Pilates, who
He was German. Joseph Pilates.
Joseph Pilates,
Joseph
who conceived the idea. This is fucking crazy. Who conceived of the idea while a prisoner of war at an internment camp in World War I. He honed his method of contrology on fellow inmates, aiding in the rehab of injured veterans. After the war, Joseph Pilates immigrated to the U.S. and collaborated with dance and exercise experts to nail down the system we simply know today as Pilates.
Dude, wouldn't it be funny? You know, like obviously we're all yoga teachers. You know that there are like certain words in like yoga circles that are just like chronically mispronounced unless somebody's told you how it's pronounced. I wonder if Pilates is just chronically like misnamed. Like it's always been Pilates, and everybody who owns and everyone who owns a Pilates studio is like, fuck, they called it Pilates again.
You know, the other invention that came out of crisis was?
All right, I got one more, but you give me yours, Brian, and then we'll move along here.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember this. You should, but it was about just over a year ago in Halifax. There was this
this is gonna be some bullshit. I smell it a mile away.
It was the great fitness crisis where there was far too many.
Of what year, Brian?
It was 2019, and
the great fitness crisis of 2019.
Yeah, studios were booked up. You could never. You were booking classes out like a month in advance, and then all of a sudden, two young gentlemen in Halifax invented this thing called Wednesday morning workouts.
Oh, for fuck's sakes! I knew it. God,
they're free week.
I actually don't want to be your friend.
Damn it!
Or co-host anymore.
All right,
and
so
it was an excellent way to.
I'm gonna shut you up now, and
I'm so glad your twin brother is moving back to Halifax, so that we can replace you with him.
So speaking of wild inventions, the other one I was gonna say was penicillin, which actually changed the world, and that came from World War II. But speaking of all these inventions that are being made in times of crisis, maybe there will be an invention made that will make it easy for me to come back into the world. And I found a video that might actually be this. So if you guys can cue this up on your end, it's the cool mask video. This is a really brilliant idea. You let me know when you're queued up, and I'll throw to it. All right? Let's
do it.
All right. Here.
Ready to go.
Here we go.
That scares the fuck out of me.
I have to clean the spit off my screen.
He looks like Big Bird. It's a Muppet.
Hold on, listen.
The mask will be opened mechanically.
Oh, this is Joseph
by
Pilates.
hand remote or automatically
The greatest inventor
when
of our
the
time.
fork is coming to the mask.
Oh.
Then you can eat,
Oh,
enjoy, drink, and you take out the fork and it will be closed and you protected against other people sitting with you.
Dude,
My God.
stop it. Fucking stop it. Look at how gross the food is, but like building up on. Oh God.
I don't think this mess could hold with this kind of ice cream. It's dripping all over. I wouldn't want to wear it.
That guy's eating that so messy.
Okay, stop the video. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know if we saw it in the video, but later on the video it shows how he opens it. Yo, you know how he opens it?
I can't believe he was a prisoner of war and invented one of the most prolific exercise routines of all time.
Oh my Lord.
And then goes on to create medical equipment that changes the world. I mean,
Hey, not every invention can be a home run.
Sweet baby Jesus. That video fucking kills me. The way it works in the contraption, the guy has this like trigger in his hand, so every time he comes to eat, he pulls the trigger and it like Pac-Man opens up and he shovels the food in and then Pac-Man closes. Dude, so dumb.
And half the food gets left on the rim of the opening.
So silly.
So foul.
So there was that. That made my day. Listen, we're so again, coming back to this conversation I had with Bridie about going back to, getting back to like real life. We were also talking about like, I was being really reactionary about it. Like, I don't know about you guys. And I kind of asked you this day before, but like I'm so much more sensitive these days than I normally am in all different, in every single way. Right. Like I'm finding that I'm way easier to like laugh at things. I'm way quicker to get like annoyed by things. I'm so excuse me, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, that was foul.
I'm so easy.
My God.
So easy to burp. I'm so, but one thing I really am is I'm very like sensitive to. I'm crying so much more lately about everything.
Guys, what did we just do there? We're so immature.
Whatever.
We should not do that anymore.
Shut up, Brian.
Keep going.
So I'm crying a lot more. And I'm crying at like all things and everything. I mean, like music. I'm crying at fucking film. I'm crying at like just seeing a dog walk by. Like it's so much.
Bottle it up.
Yeah, stuff it down.
Stuff it down. Stuff it down deep.
I as like a little sort of this isn't a palate cleanser. We're gonna need a palate cleanser after this. I want to show you guys this video that I saw. That is like amidst the chaos of it all. I'm seeing a lot of like really beautiful videos coming out like online of like heartwarming tales and stuff. And this one got me so deep. If you guys can go forward to the Here Donkey video. So I want to preface this by setting it up. So I found this video today, and it's about a guy. It's a video of a guy who has been in quarantine for a couple of months, somewhere in like South America maybe, and he has like a wild donkey that he's very close with, and this is the first time that he's met up. Taylor, I know you're laughing, and I know it sounds silly, but just watch this video. He meets up with his wild donkey to like for the first time since quarantine. Guys, I swear to God, this is heartwarming. Okay.
You should have just played dogs getting dogs as gifts.
No, I know. No, listen. So, all right, tell me when you got the video queued up. It's the Here Donkey one.
Yeah.
And
okay,
let's
good to go.
Let's play. Here we go.
Hola. ¿Qué pasa? Hola.
Just listen to it. Just watch.
Oye,
listen to the guy's
¿qué
emotion.
hace? Hola.
Oh, little buddy.
¿Qué pasa? ¿Dónde está mi burrilla? ¿Dónde está? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Dónde está metida? O más bien, ¿dónde estaba yo? ¿Qué? ¿Qué
He's
pasa?
so happy to see his donkey.
Oh, qué tontería. Oye,
And the donkey's so happy to see him. Watch.
¿qué? Ay, ¿qué pasa?
Oh my God, dude.
Ay,
Oh my
yo
God.
también te
he's
echo de menos, ¿eh?
Okay.
Ay,
so happy.
Oh, man, that shit is so sweet. Like that,
That just really does it for you.
It does, man. That dog, like after the guys getting emotional, and then the donkey just starts like donkey crying. You know, like I've never heard a
No,
donkey
what,
cry.
though?
I never heard a donkey
And then
cry.
the donkey,
know what, though?
just starts
When-
being a donkey.
I never heard a donkey cry. I never heard a donkey cry
When the
before.
guy was crying at first, I was like, this is the dumbest fucking video I've ever
Oh
seen.
my
But
god,
then-
you animal!
What a monster!
You fucking
What a
piece of
monster.
shit.
But then, when the donkey started crying, I was like, okay, I get
Yeah,
it. But then it reminded me of for the Patreon folks who were on the Patreon hangout a couple weeks ago, and Chastity brought out her little hedgehog, and I looked at it and I
Oh,
saw this
so
cute little
sweet,
hedgehog
I
on the
know.
screen.
Oh,
Man, I just started, my eyes welled up, and I just felt like my heart was so like happy, and I just felt, you feel that cuteness feeling like in your chest, and like I don't know, it just turns into these emotions
You start to
This-
grind your teeth.
a little bit, yeah.
This is
and,
really
and,
funny.
Clench your fist.
Yeah.
You just want to eat it.
It's funny that you say that because that Brady and I were talking about this the other day too, about when we were talking about grief, we were talking about like where you feel certain emotions, like in the pit of your stomach or like wherever.
Yeah.
And you were just talking about like cuteness, that feel. I get that feeling like right in my butthole. Like my butthole goes, oh, it's so cute.
Is that why you shit yourself earlier? You watched that donkey video and it just fucking
Yeah, Jerry.
like, oh, it's so cute. Oh
Oh, I think I sharded.
no. Okay, listen. I want to.
a cuteness shirt.
Oh, sweet Jesus! I want to follow that up. So here's the palate cleanser. All right, if you're crying, because I know a lot of people in the chat are crying right now about that donkey. If you're crying about that donkey, now it's time to see another version of someone with their pet donkey. I think it's actually pet ponies. Did you guys know that Arnold Schwarzenegger is like a mad pony fan? So he has
super
two
pony fan.
He has two pet ponies, and this is him celebrating the birthday of one of his ponies. You guys let me know when you're ready to cue this up.
It's you,
Good to
brony.
go.
right.
All right, here we go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my God.
Happy birthday, dear Lulu. Happy birthday to you. Look at this.
Dude, everything that comes
You're
out of that guy's
celebrating
mouth is
birthday
hilarious.
Really great, huh? Sorry, the candles are unnecessary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
here's another one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Here's another one. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not so loud, okay? Oh,
Dude,
look
this
at the
feels
cell
weirdly
phone
sexual
coming.
now.
Oh, yes.
Just look at his eyes.
Another little lick.
Yeah.
Lick a
Happy
little more.
birthday today. You're 1 year
No,
old.
don't make it weird. It's
You're
cute.
1 year old today.
It's cute. Look, the other one just
well,
watching
yeah.
the whole thing.
Such a beautiful,
You are 1 year. You are 1 year old today.
Yeah.
beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
In
Yeah.
his house.
Yeah, it's your birthday
Yeah.
today.
It's your birthday.
Look
Your
at
birthday.
the-
Yeah. I love you, pony.
God damn
I
it.
love you, pony.
I like
Holy shit, that's funny.
why is it that when I see the video of the guy in the wild crying with his pony, that I think that's the fucking sweetest thing I've ever seen in my life? And then when I see Arnold at his table feeding his pony for its birthday, I'm like, has he lost his fucking mind?
Arnold.
There's like a little bit of like,
You know what's
I'm
weird,
like
though,
I'm like
Jared, is
slightly angry.
He's
That-
got the most
that-
caricatured voice of all time.
Well,
That's
we
why.
just
As soon
watched-
as you hear his voice, you laugh.
We
Yeah.
just watch an evolution of donkey love though, because in the first video it's like they're
Yeah.
embracing themselves in the field, but then like a year later it's his birthday, and they're
Yeah.
like it got you made the first video weird with that video. You said that was a palate cleanser, but I don't know, dude. You kind of just made it weird for me.
Come on.
No.
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 All right, you guys
Sounds
want to? We're a little bit behind time here. Do you guys want to play a quick little game? I think this game is fucking brilliant. Make sure you have a drink poured. Brad, do you have a beer?
Yeah.
Okay, good boy. Have a drink
Oh,
poured.
I need
and,
I think I need a refill on my beer.
Let's finish this one.
and here's the thing.
Yeah,
if,
donkey.
if you're at home, you can also play along on this game with us. You can.
Probably
How do I set this up? So I guess. Well, here let's throw it to here and see if this works here. So we are going to. All right. Oops. Let's take that down. Just a little view into my personal life. Let me get this set up here. So how this works?
Did you do exactly what you said you were going to do?
No, yeah, almost. So how this works is we are going to be playing a game called, I like to call this game Medical Talks or Medi-Talks Roulette. Okay, so I think Becca, my girlfriend Becca, or maybe Bridie, introduced me to this Instagram account that is very similar to Mrs. and Jemmy, and it's called Medi-Talks or Medical Talks. And let me bring it up here. Medical. Is it medical or Medi-Talk?
Medical Talks.
Yeah, Medical Talks. Okay, cool. So this is called Medical Talk Roulette. And how this works is there's one rule. Each one of us is going to play a round. We're going to play 2 rounds. And if you avert your eyes before 30 seconds is up, you have to take a drink, okay? If you avert your eyes before 30 seconds is up, you have to take a drink. The way medical
should be easy for me.
It actually might be. It's not going to be
You
easy
should take
for
those
me.
shades off, Tay.
The way Medi-Talks Roulette works is I'm going to randomly scroll through some of the images here, and I'm going to find one that's covered up because it's like, you know,
sensitive content.
Yeah, sensitive content. So let's give this a shot here. Can you, Brian and Taylor, can you guys see my screen now? You should be able to see it. All right, cool. So
yep.
Let's start, Brian. I got the timer up here. Okay. So we're gonna go Brian, and I'm gonna get you to close your eyes, Brian. Okay. And we're gonna randomly select here. You have 30 seconds. Oh my God, the people at home. Okay. All right. Holy fuck. Okay,
like
I already
this.
just read what it is, and
Don't like this.
it's making me.
Dude, I'll look at all of them.
Okay,
I
here we go.
wasn't nervous for anything tonight except this.
All right, you ready, Brian? Open your eyes. The timer has begun. You are looking at a fish hook that is being removed from the eye. The barbed fish hook has been embedded in the eye and is an injury unlikely to be forgotten by any ophthalmologist surgeon. Oh, Jesus, I can't look. I'm looking away. I'm not looking at that. Brian, you've got 14 seconds
I'm
left.
looking at it.
You got it.
I got it.
You got 14. Oh, my God, 10 seconds.
Okay, I got this one. I'm okay with the eye thing. That was the 10th episode.
Oh, my God, I can't.
Jerry, are you going to be okay?
No, I'm not.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I don't like the end
Are they
part.
going to take it out? Or is
Okay,
it on a
all
loop?
right, you're good. No, that's it. You did it. Jesus Christ, I wouldn't have done that.
Wow.
Okay, I'm okay with eye things. I don't like insides of people.
That was really hardcore.
Hold on. Hold on a second. I actually need a second here. That was so fucked.
I thought the gelatinous nature of the eyeball was cool.
Okay, Taylor, you're up. Are you ready? Oh,
Yep.
all right, close your eyes. Oh, fuck me. That sucked.
I don't even like you scrolling through them.
Guys, I'm going to fucking own this game. Better hit me with something real.
All right. I think this is it. Oh, God. Jesus. Oh, Jesus. All right, open your eyes. All right, this is a really severe acid burn. An acid burn over the back of someone's neck. I don't know what else to say other than this is a
the hair that's embedded.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Jerry, you okay?
You won. You got it. You win. You win.
Taylor
You
looks,
did it.
Surprisingly fine.
Oh, you did it.
Nobody else is watching the live show now. No, we have 0 viewers left on the live show.
We're going to intermission after this. Okay, it's my turn.
Who loves Medi-Talks?
It's going to be hard for me to do it for myself. All right, I'm just going to look away from the screen. I'm looking at you guys, not the screen.
Oh my God.
I can like my peripherals picking
content.
it up a bit. All right, here we go. Is that
so
all right, is this locked up? This is locked content. I can't. Right. This is. I need to give permission to look at this. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. I'm gonna start the timer.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Whoa, wee wah.
Oh
Is
God.
that an armpit?
Are you doing okay?
Dude, that's that's serious.
Hey, zoom in on that a little bit.
Yeah, do what you did to me. Oh,
No.
oh,
Dude,
wow.
you looked away. You looked away.
Oh
why
my
is
God,
he
that
doing
one's
more
bad
stuff?
too.
Get off of this. Oh. God.
Oh my God.
Get away from it. Oh.
Oh God.
Nobody likes this anymore.
That is seriously, that is some serious stuff.
I hated that game.
Right, yeah, you only survived one. Yeah, you're finishing your beer. Okay, that's fair.
That game was awful.
Are you okay?
No.
Yeah, that was hardcore. That last one was nuts.
Fuck me. All right, guys. We're gonna throw to an intermission here. It's gonna be real
Oh,
quick.
we're not gonna do a second round?
No, fuck that. That game. I'm done with that game. That game is over. You guys won. I lost. Okay, I concede. We're gonna throw to an intermission. We'll be back very momentarily. It's really just as much time as it's gonna take for us to call in our guest. Oh, sweet Jesus. We'll say a 5-minute intermission. Go grab a drink. Leave a question. Leave a comment. Do your thing. Have a wank, and we'll see you in 5 minutes. All right. See you all very soon.
It's intermission time. Time for refreshment. During the next 10 minutes, you're invited to visit the refreshment stand, where you'll be greeted with fast, friendly service. You'll find hot dogs, juicy hamburgers, and mouth-watering delicious pizza. There are refreshing hot and cold beverages, ice-cold cola, and orange drink. Goes great with an order of crispy French fries. Then there's a wide selection of your favorite candies and other delicious snacks. And there's always a fresh batch of hot buttered popcorn to go with the rest of the show. So visit the refreshment stand now during this 10-minute intermission and add to your enjoyment of the movie. We're happy to have you with us tonight and hope you'll come back often.
Introducing the world's most famous lion tamer, Clyde Lionheart.
Popcorn, fresh popcorn at the snack bar.
Now, Clyde Lionheart will have Leo jump through the flaming circle while he, blindfolded, drinks a Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, ice cold Coca-Cola at the
Popcorn, candy, ooh, hot dog, popsicle. Oh boy! Oh boy, Fanta orange.
It's made with the original crispy pizza crust, our exclusive pizza sauce, a pinch of salt, a touch of Parmesan grated cheese, mozzarella cheese, a little oregano, and into the oven it goes. And presto, a delicious pizza. What'll it be, folks? Cheese or sausage? Why not enjoy some delicious California crispy pizza?
Hiya, hiya, hiya. They're shrimply delicious. Hiya, hiya, hiya. You'll go for that mouth-watering, taste-tempting, meaty shrimp mixture all wrapped up in a crispy noodle jacket. It's a treat you can't beat. So come on, join the folks that are getting fresh, crispy Flavo shrimp rolls now at the snack bar. They're shrimply delicious.
Visit our concession and see for yourself the delicious treats, drinks, and snacks awaiting you. If you are thirsty, try ice-cold soft drinks or a cup of hot, flavorful coffee. Get something to go with it, like a sizzling and satisfying hot dog or a tasty, tender sandwich. Try one of these delicious treats, and you'll be back at the concession for more before the show is over. The service at our concession is friendly and efficient.
Fresh brewed hot coffee, as you like it.
Yes, sir. May I help you?
I'd like 2 of those, please.
Hot dogs? Yes, sir.
And 3 of those. And 1 of those. And 5 bars of these. And a cup of that nice hot liquid.
Coffee. Coming right up.
Oh, and 2 bags of those peculiar white fluffy material.
You mean our crunchy popcorn? Shall I wrap that for you, sir?
Oh, that's all right. My saucer's just outside.
They come from miles to enjoy our intermission.
Okay, we are back, and I'm super fucking excited to bring to the table here a guest who, well, you know what? Let me lay this out before we bring him to the screen. This guest has been a past guest on Sickboy podcast, and he informed me that he was running and gunning for the title of the most recurring guest that we've ever had on the show. Which, when he sent me that message, he was currently in second place for that title. He was running second place, tied with Kenzie Brenna. He is now, as soon as I bring him onto the screen here, which is going to take a little bit of effort for me, he will now be the second most recurring guest we've had on the show. Does that grammatically make sense? Second most recurring?
I think so, but at least, the first most recurring guest has since died. So hopefully Drew can,
this is true.
Drew has the opportunity.
Yeah,
at least the first place person isn't going to be...
Yep. So there you go, Drew. That's where you're gunning for. You're gonna take our friend Brandon's spot, and he's dead now. So you're that fucking guy.
We're laughing, but we're also very sad because
actually though, yeah. So Drew Dudley, everybody, how you doing, buddy?
You look shocked to be here with us. Just a couple more curses, and you'll dethrone Brandon.
What? Serious?
That's
Lord.
I have been introduced 1,000 times in different podcasts and speeches, and that is the most appalling thing anyone has ever said right before. And I suppose if someone was like, okay, you got to put out $10,000 on who's going to say the most appalling thing during one of your introductions,
that's it.
I'm pretty much going to be like, I'm going to go with Sickboy.
That's it right there.
You know what? That is very flattering.
He would laugh at the joke, though. He would laugh at the joke.
He's
so
up.
That makes it okay.
He's up in heaven, looking down, laughing right now.
When you said it to me the other night or whenever we were talking about it, I thought to myself, I sure hope that how messed up do you have to be the second most reoccurring guest on Sickboy? How I was thinking that the other day is I bet this is my 3rd trip to see you guys, maybe the 4th actually. And I'm just someone pointed out to me, you've gone on Sickboy 4 times. What's wrong with you? I'm just I don't know. We talked about all the shit that I thought was wrong with me the first 2 times.
You've got a chronic case of being able to shoot the shit really well. I think that is what you are really dealing with.
That, but wow, that was harsh.
Taylor,
that was so dark.
I think that Taylor, that is a good point. But for the maybe there's someone tuning in tonight that hasn't listened to Sickboy before, or maybe that there's someone still working their way through the catalog and they haven't heard your episodes yet. Drew, why don't you just lay out Introduce yourself. You know what? We fucking butchered it. Why don't you introduce yourself the way that you wished we had introduced you?
Whoa, I wouldn't trade that for anything. I was going to come on and just be like, fuck you, Kenzie.
Fuck you, Kenzie. And fuck you, Brandon, too, wherever you are. Oh, no. Everything's frozen.
Say it quite like that.
We're back. We're back.
But we were always
you guys were there. I'm all fucked up. Drew, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
Let me throw this out first. If you've never listened to Patreon, or if you've never listened to Sickboy before, or you say you haven't listened to my previous episodes, I do believe one of them was a live show that you're only eligible for if you are a Patreon supporter. So I highly suggest that you go on, head to whatever.com/Sickboy, I'm assuming, and become a Patreon subscriber to support the good people of Sickboy, because they will claim they're going to send you some swag, and they never will. They never will. But they're still good men.
They're still okay people.
Hey, you'll get it. It just takes a while.
Mask has never arrived. I would like my Sickboy COVID-19 mask, and I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming you printed them up already.
I know. Oh my God, guys, we missed the boat on COVID-19.
Have you not done COVID-19 Sickboy masks?
No, we didn't.
But
we did.
We have any friends?
We did. You know what? Actually, you know what? I do this right. This was not planned, but we at the very beginning of this stream, we announced. Actually, I can do it on my phone here. We announced that we were going to launch some new merch, which we don't like fuck with merch very often. So I want to show everyone the merch that we. Oh God, no wait, I can't. Hold on. I don't want to do this yet because everyone will just see a bunch of nudes. I want to show everybody.
I forgot what this podcast
I know. Look, we're working out the kinks. All right, we're working out the goddamn kinks.
I can't believe you keep saying yes to coming back.
Sickboy should just be like. It should just be called Sickboy. Name your sex tape, whatever.
Yeah, I want
literally every time you come back on the podcast, Drew. I'm like, really? After last time, like he's such a professional, well thought of person in society, and yet he keeps coming back on this podcast.
Well, here, Drew, I want to show you, Drew. I want to show you, Drew, the what's in the pipeline here, because we did. You're actually right. You did subscribe to us, and we didn't share. We didn't send you a piece of merch. I now realize.
Yeah.
So
I'm still friends.
We came up with a new design. Can you see my screen now, or am I sharing the screen?
I can. It's terrifying, and I think you need help. But
we can see a lot of your screen.
Hold on. Oh, that's my background. Whatever. This is everyone knows the children's book Everyone Poops, by Taro Gomi. It's a very, very popular book.
A children's book.
Yeah,
I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah. It's a children's book that just teaches us that everyone poops. It's a pretty famous book. Brian took that and ran with it and made our own version, which is Everyone Dies. It's the same.
You got. Oh my God! The tombstone that says "Mommy and Daddy."
It's so dark. Yeah, it's so dark, but it's also
your
fish will
die.
It's so
Mommy
beautiful.
and Daddy will die. Even Grandma.
Okay,
everyone dies. Some of us just do more dark shit while we're alive than others.
Yeah. This is a shit show. Drew, you're
I want that shirt. Please.
100%. We will send you one.
Send you two.
You're a speaker. You're an author. You're a man of many things. You've been on the podcast a number of times. The first time you came on, we talked about your struggles with bipolar. We talked about your struggles with addiction. And the second time we had you on, I mean, we were talking about leadership. We were talking about a plethora of different things. A big part of your life is that you are a public speaker. And you speak specifically about leadership. And one thing that I thought would be really valuable for us to kind of dive into today while we have you here, for selfishly for myself and for Brian and Taylor, but also for our listeners, I'm really curious to know. So, like this whole COVID thing is really fucked up and weird, and we're spending a lot of time alone by ourselves. And you, as a speaker, you speak a lot to the the idea of being a leader, right? Being a leader in your community, being a team leader amongst your coworkers, amongst your peers. But I'm wondering what your thoughts are, or if you've put much thought into this idea of like, you know, what does leadership mean now that we are alone? Like for myself, I haven't like been in the presence of anyone else in like 2 months, aside from like the odd time my mom comes in here, or, you know, I've had a couple of friends pop by for beers in the backyard. So what would you say to people who what would you say to the idea of leadership when we're spending so much time by ourselves? How can we be a leader to ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is I get asked that question a ton. I mean, it's sort of like the phrase during these difficult times or uncertain times, or given what COVID has done. For me, in some ways, that question is now going in the same category as when someone leads with, I have more of a comment than a question. Like, you just kind of want to pull the trap door instantly and sort of be like, you don't know how this works. But I do understand why it's on people's minds. My particular form of leadership, for those who haven't listened, I used to run the leadership program at the University of Toronto, and then I did a TED Talk that went viral, and I've done about 1,000 speeches on the corporate, not-for-profit school level over the last 10 years or so, and now I have a book out about a type of leadership that ultimately has very little to do with how we influence others in terms of we're in charge and we have to make this mission happen, right? Which is a form of leadership. It is a form, often in many ways, of management. And there's a lot of experts on that type of leadership. I'm not one of them. But the type of leadership I talk about the power of individual moments. And I consider these moments of empathy and kindness and recognition, forgiveness, these individual moments of interpersonal impact, I call them moments of leadership. And we don't usually, we call them the little things. Right? It's the little things. And I think that we have to recognize the power of language, right? Like, the little things is an incredibly diminishing thing, but a moment of forgiveness or compassion or recognition or kindness, they're the most powerful things that we do. And they impact us a hell of a lot more than what the prime minister is doing on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like, how you and I, all of us here, are interacting with each other, making each other laugh, has a much bigger impact on my day than whatever the hell Trudeau did or Trump did, right? And so ultimately, I want people to focus on where their actual ability to have power in this world lies, in these individual moments. And one of the things I've talked a lot more about is the idea that why I think they're so powerful is it's pretty much these moments of impact and kindness and what you are all doing, which is helping people share their stories with other people. And I want to talk a little bit more about that because I don't think we've ever really dove into that. But I think that one of the key pieces is they're pretty much the only source of power on the planet that doesn't have a systemic barrier between that power and most people on the planet. They do. Almost every source of power on Earth, most people have no access to it, especially if you're not a straight white dude. And so for me, that means that leadership is about a disciplined execution of daily leadership behaviors, right? Like, it's ordinary things done with extraordinary consistency that fundamentally changes things. So, not to dive too far into it and do a rehash, but we basically have something I call the leadership test, right? Which is 6 questions. And the idea was each of those 6 questions is tied to a value that I care about as a person, my organization, my company cares about as a company. And our goal is every day I look at it like this. And maybe this resonates with some of the Sickboy guests and all of you, but imagine if every night before you go to bed, you have to prove you deserve another day on the planet. Like, not at the end of a year, like every night before you go to bed, somebody pops up and they're just like, why should I give you another one of these? And in order to show that you deserve it, you have to pass a test. 3 questions out of 6. The thing is, you're given the questions in the morning. And if that was the reality of our lives, those questions would be non-negotiable. They'd be the number one thing you focused on every day. And because those questions in my life are tied to the values I want to define me as a person, what I've done by taking on that and teaching other people to do it is that ultimately I've made my to-be list more important than my to-do list. Because those questions are non-negotiable and as important to me every day as not having a drink. Like that, the idea of recovering from addiction is the same way. It's disciplined daily focus, and that's all you focus on, because otherwise you look at your past and you rely too heavily on what you've already done. You coast on it, or you look to the future, and it's terrifying how many days are left of not drinking. Like, it's my whole life. And so I look at leadership that day, and to circle back around to to your question, there's nothing going on right now that makes it harder to answer those 6 questions. As a matter of fact, it's easier because there's time now to do it. Like often, it's harder.
See, I find that that last sentence there that you just said, I find that a really interesting perspective, because my question was going to be, given the circumstances, given the fact that we're experiencing a global pandemic right now, it seems harder to find that sense of like motivation and drive. Personally for me, before the global pandemic, I had like an incredible routine that I was sticking to, that I was feeling really healthy. I was going to the gym every day. I was really consistent with, allotting time for this activity or this part of my day and moving on. And then all of a sudden, like that framework for my day was kind of like thrown out of the window a little bit. And I've been struggling a little bit to find that consistency. You say that ordinary acts that you're doing on a consistent basis, like those ordinary acts haven't been as consistent for me. So I've been struggling to try to get back into that mindset or frame of mind that made me feel good before. So the way that the last sentence of saying like, shouldn't it be easier now? I get that, but practically, is it that easy?
Well, I think it depends on your questions and what you're doing too, right? Like going out and exercising is way, way harder. But for me, this pandemic actually in some ways as guilt, and I feel really guilty about this. It's been good for me. Not business wise, that gutted us, right? Mm-hmm. But ultimately I was done. I had put on 40 pounds again. I was emotionally and physically exhausted since the book came out 18 months ago. I had no idea how exhausted I was. But I mean, my questions every day are what have I done today to recognize someone else's leadership? What have I done today to make it more likely someone would learn something? What did I try that might not work, but I tried it anyway, which has been mostly technological related things since this all started for me. How did I move someone else closer to a goal today? When did I elevate instead of escalate? What did I do today to be good to myself? Now, again, that's from a very personal perspective and my company perspective, but all of those were actually designed because the fundamental idea of my leadership approach is that it's as accessible to introverts as it is to extroverts. Because almost every leadership talk you get is all about extroversion. And I think a lot of introverts are thinking to themselves, that's not for me. But so those are my questions. And in my case, what that means is that there's a little bit more time to sit back and think about the people in your life and to do things like I'm going to send a letter. Like this is a random note that just came to me from a friend of mine for no reason except I was thinking of you. This must suck for your business. And like that took time. And usually we wouldn't make time for it. We would have been outside or hitting a coffee. And now you're like, I can watch another YouTube video or I can write a card. And, at first you're like, oh, YouTube is easier. But how the card makes someone feel is, especially now, is pretty amazing.
All right. So let me ask you then about this then, because I had a similar thing happen, but I don't know how to. So I don't know how to feel about it, Drew. I got a package the other day that was from that came to my house, so they knew where I lived. It must be someone I know, but there was no return address. I don't know who sent it. And when I opened it up, it was there was 3 things
Seems
inside.
Like you're throwing an accusation out there.
Listen,
what was it?
It might have been true. I don't know. I don't fucking know. Let's ask. There was 3 things in the package. There was a letter, a little tiny piece of paper about this big that just said, "Eat a bag of dicks." All right. And then I go a little further in and I pull out a bag of candy that's all dick shaped. And then I go a little further in and it's just full of dick sparkles.
Yes.
Now,
the dick sparkles cost an extra $5, like a card.
They do cost an extra $5. Drew, did you send me a bag of dicks?
I did not, and I'm not going to discuss at length how I happen to know that there is the bonus cost of it. I believe it's bagofdicks.com.
It is. Did you wait? Hold on. Did you actually not send it? You do know, because you do know. I looked it up. I looked it up, and you're right. It is $5 extra for the fucking sparkles.
Oh my god! I thought he was just making that.
No. Drew knows what's up.
I don't fuck around with Dick Sparkle, man. Name your sex
As
tape.
you should.
But wait,
so I've been like binging Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I have scoured. I've scoured all of my fucking contacts. I have no idea who sent it. And it's the
maybe it's someone who listens to your podcast and has a fundamental issue just because you say shit that is just apologetically you, and they believe that you should eat a bag of dicks.
True.
Could be.
Anyway,
that's a quick question though. Is the candy any good?
Yeah, it's great. It's fucking great
Your
candy.
question?
Yeah. I enjoyed every dick. I enjoyed every single dick. It was great. Taylor,
Drew,
what were you gonna say?
I'm really interested. The time horizon of like this, like what you're working on, and the time horizon of going like, did I do that today? I mean, versus like the things that we know statistically don't work, like a New Year's resolution, like in 2020, which 2020 has been thrown off the rails for a lot of people, all very shortly into the year. But I mean, regardless of whether COVID-19 happens, the things that you say you're going to do throughout, the goals that you set for the time horizon of 365 days. I mean, statistically, how likely it is for those things to go out the window really quickly, because the time horizon is just so long, and to stay on top of something that just just gets dragged out for so long, versus something that you can do every day and that you put your mind to going like to checking that box every day, or as best you can, or passing the test, doing 3 of 6. I just find that I've never been able to like change, like I've always been really bad with like diet stuff like that. That shit never really works. But then I tried out intermittent fasting in the fall, and like that was really easy, because it was like you stop eating at this time and then you start eating it at this time, and it's daily. It's not just generally I'm going to eat better or I'm going to stop eating this type of food or whatever. It's like a time, and it was daily, and it was easier, and that time horizon of a day was really manageable. But my question is, in relation to your experience with alcohol and not drinking, and like I have always found it really fascinating when you meet somebody who has stopped drinking, and they haven't been drinking for over a decade, and they know to the day how many days it's been that they haven't been drinking. Like how much is that tied in to your view on giving yourself this one day horizon to keep re-upping on these promises that you're making to yourself?
It's massive, man. My experience with alcoholism and recovery informs so much of what I do. I mean, a lot of it started back in 2010. I was still drinking, and it was a tour guide in the desert of Qatar. God, that sounded weird. A tour guide in the desert of Qatar. But he was about to drive me. Yeah, he was about to drive me off this cliff. They do this thing called dune bashing.
It's fucking crazy. Qatar is the craziest too.
Did they explain the giant flags on the back? Like, you know how back when you were a kid, you had bikes that had like an orange flag? So when you go dune bashing, because it's huge over there, right? It's like what you do on the weekends. And for those who don't know, it's you drive out to the desert, you let the air out of your tires on a 4x4 or a dune buggy, and you just drive off of sand cliffs. And they're huge. Like they're like 80-foot cliffs you're flying off of. And so he's driving me towards the first one, and he starts to cackle. And I don't know if you ever witnessed another human being cackle, but he's like, nah. And I'm just like, man, he's having such a good time. And I asked him, how do you do that? Like, even though this is awesome, you do it every day, man. How do you stay so fired up? And he looks over and he's just like, it's my first day. And not pleased with this. Because, I mean, look, man, everyone's got to start somewhere. But if your job is to drive me off of cliffs, I don't want
the experience to be there.
But he hammered the brakes and he said, don't worry about it, Mr. Dudley. Like on your first day, you show up early, you dress your best, you double check everything, you ask every question. There's no shame. You're never more committed to your job than on your first day. But
true.
The first time I ever did this job was 17 years ago. But I loved it so much. That I promised myself I'd never have a second day of work. It's been my first day for 17 years. And 5 years ago, I bought the company. And I thought it was so cool. So I started adopting this idea of day one. And then when it came time to lose the weight, then when it came time to deal with the daily battle that is the depressive swings of bipolar and the incredible temptation of the hypomania of the bipolar manic side of it. Like it is, when you feel it coming, it's such a tear between, oh no, like here is the disease. It seems to have like slipped its way out of the medication, right? Because if you think about your medication with mental illness, it's like you take it, you hog tie it. Sorry, I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption. You hog tie it.
You hog tie it, you put it on the train tracks and wait 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a great game.
Never thought that. You are a sick man. But I actually had to take off the braces on my hands because do you know that there's such a thing? Maybe you should do this as a Sick Boy episode. You can add this. This is my new ailment, why I've been asked back. I have texter thumb, which is tendinitis created by too much gaming or texting. So,
Really?
It's legit.
But what happened was it's like this daily battle. And the same thing happened with the weight loss and then the alcoholism. And so I started to realize when it came time to lose weight, the woman came to me, my fitness friend, the one with different types of shoes for different running conditions, came to me and said, we're going to approach this the same way that you do your leadership. We're going to ask questions. And so she gave me these questions. And then to go to your point about daily commitment, this is also something that she did that really changed my way of doing everything. She said, it is not failure that destroys missions. It's unplanned failure. It's unexpected failure. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you 65 days. 65, more than 2 months to be on the road at a banquet and there's no good options, to be at a friend's house and they're serving something like rich and you don't want to be rude, or just to be lonely on the road and want pizza. You get 65 days to do that, to not answer those questions. And the thing is, when you use those 65 days, you're not messing up. It's not even a cheat day. It's planned. And so that has changed everything for me because now anytime I embark on a mission of anything, I actually have planned failure within it. The only real exception would be the alcoholism. There's not real room for slippage there, but I will tell you, anybody who's in recovery will tell you, most of us have relapsed. At least once, most of us have relapsed. So that idea of only focusing on today, my priority from the time I get up in the morning to go to bed is to not have a drink. That is the same approach now I realized for leadership, which was, well, honestly, what we were trying to do is create a roadmap through uncertainty. Like when you don't know what the future holds, like right now, I think that we sometimes hesitate to know what to do in the present because we're afraid if we're not certain, we're going to fuck up the future. Right. And I think it's so much more important to be decisive in life than it is to be certain. And so what I've done with the 6 questions for me, and then I help other people come up with their own, is I've given myself something to do every day when I don't know what to do every day.
I was going to ask you about, Drew, I wanted to ask you about the six questions. Like, how do you help people come up with them, and how can, we come up or find our own 6 questions?
Well, I mean, it's contractually obligated that I have my book in the background behind me, but I do lay it out there. I also have an online way of doing it that we're using to raise money for frontline healthcare workers, if anyone's interested. We have an online way of doing it. But to be honest, and this is just a fun exercise. Oh, I want to write something else down I want to share with you guys. So I'm like putting down these little notes of things like that are practical that might actually help your listeners on.
That's great. Yeah.
So one of the things I do is we all try to come up with like all your questions have to be tied to values, right? Like, what have I done today to recognize someone else's leadership is tied to impact? What did I try today that might not work but tried anyway is tied to courage, and so on and so forth. And because how you behave is indicative of your values, not the crap that you say. The phrase "I'm the type of person who" is always followed by a lie. Like anytime someone says "I'm the type of person who," they're about to lie to your ass. And so for me, what I do is you have to surface your values. You can claim you know what they are. But so what I do is I go out and I tell people, I want you to write down 30 pieces of advice that you would pass on to someone you cared about so much that you want them to have a better life than you. I call it the edge of the bed advice, as if your kid is leaving for school the next day and you sit on the edge of their bed the night before they leave and they're like, Mom, Dad, what do I need to know? Because a former student of mine wrote 26 things I've learned in 26 years, and it was filled with this really brilliant stuff. So now I ask people to do 30 pieces of edge of the bed advice. And if you don't know what, I always just say, just pick a sentence and fill in the blank. So it's, what do I know to be true about love? What do I know to be true about sex? What do I know to be true about friendship, failure? And if you ask yourself any question like that, and then just think to yourself, what do I know to be true about that? That's your edge of the bed advice. And what I do is I walk people through that process. One, the process of coming up with 30 pieces of advice that you've gained from your life is super interesting. It really opens our minds to the fact that we are really wise people. We just don't give ourselves credit for that. And the process of sitting down and thinking, like, what do I know to be true? Because we focus a lot on the shit we don't know and the stuff we're failing at. But when it really comes down to it, especially the group of you, like the people you've talked to, the people you've empowered. And I think I told this to you guys once before, is the thing that your show does is a lot of people focus on making other people say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Or, oh, wow, I can't do that. What your show allows people to do is the most powerful thing, which is to make people say, oh, my God, I thought I was the only one. Right? I thought I was the only one. Like your show creates empathy because your show creates understanding of things that people don't like to talk about. And so every day you answer the question, what have I done to make someone else closer to a goal? What did I do most to make it more likely that someone would learn something? And so what you do is when you have these 30 pieces of advice, and I also try to get people to think of the 2 proudest moments in their life and the 2 most shameful moments of their life, is basically at the foundation of every piece of advice you give. So for instance, if someone give me one of yours, all right, a piece of edge of the bed advice. And I asked for 30 because if you ask people for one, they get freaked out because they have to come up with like this great truth. But just pick one. Somebody give me a piece of your edge of the bed advice.
I got lost for a minute when you said that at first because I started thinking about it. And it came to when you said, what do I know about friendship? And I thought that that the best friendship is the best friendships are being able to spend time with somebody and have no need to say a word.
Amazing. Okay. So the foundation. Oh God, you had something awesome to follow up there, and I cut you off. Man, I'm sorry.
No, that was it. No, that was it. Just like that. Just sitting there with somebody, spending time with them, and I mean, I have this with both Jer and Bri, but like my immediate recollection is like imagining Brian and I as like 13-year-olds sitting on the couch watching the Tour de France together, not saying a word, and then playing ping pong to see who can continue to watch the Tour de France. And all it is like pure competition and wanting to watch together.
But it's also and that comfort of just being in the same space, but feeling like everything is okay, like equilibrium almost.
We don't need to fill this. We don't need to fill the space by bringing something
you. Yeah,
up.
I get it. I love you. Yeah.
Friendship is heightened expectations for each other, except for the expectation that you'll have to fill silence, right? Like when you're friends, you have higher expectations for your friends, except when it comes to silence, and you don't anymore. And I'm glad you said that, man, because the goal of a speaker is sometimes to make people stop listening to you. Like honestly, at times in your speech, you want people to just sort of stop listening and look off to the side because you know what you've done there is you put them into their head. But one of the things I realized is that at the foundation of every piece of advice are values. Like basically what you're saying with that piece of advice is if you take this advice to heart and live by it every day, you'll do a better job embodying the value of whatever. And I think that every piece of advice has somewhere between 1 and 3 foundational values. And so when you get your list of 30, I ask people to reverse engineer the values at the basis of, now usually I don't tell them ahead of time because it does change how you do it when you know the end game. But if you have a list of 30 values and you reverse engineer, like what and this is hard, I know, because we don't have a value lexicon, like an easy list of, but if I say to you, what's the foundational values behind what you just said? What are you saying is the fundamental value that defines an important part of your life? That is the foundation of that piece of advice in your mind.
I guess connection.
Yeah. And so what you do is you take the 30, and we're moving through this really quick, I know, because we could just talk about your answers there. But at the end of that exercise, you have between 30 and 90 values that have emerged. And 3 to 6 of them always show up more frequently than you expect. And often they surprise you what they are. So that's how you start. And then you go through the process of turning them into questions, which is probably more involved than we need to get into here. But that's how I start. And I think that's a really cool exercise in and of itself. To just, people seem annoyed when I assign it, and then usually the people come up afterwards and are straight up like, I'm
like, well, who the fuck likes homework? No one likes homework. But then you do it and you're like, it made sense. Drew, I want to. We are coming to time here, but I want to go to the questions from some of our listeners here, and there was one that came in that that actually is I'm actually really curious to hear what your thoughts are on this too, because it's very timely. It's coming in from Whitney. Any recommendations for essential workers to stay in the leadership mindset during this time? I find that right now I'm stuck in a cycle of feeling exhausted / defeated, etc. as a healthcare worker, and then feeling guilty for having those feelings because I have a job, home, and sense of security. Does anyone else relate to this cycle?
Yeah, look, one, thank you. Like, seriously. And I know that's overdone and it probably seems disingenuous by this point, but when we were getting ready to go on and all the noise was happening outside, that noise hasn't dissipated. At 7:30 in Toronto, people go out onto their balconies. I don't know if this is elsewhere, and make a ton of noise, bang on pots, all in support of the frontline healthcare workers. And it's still deafening. It still scares the crap out of me. And I'm like, why is my horse ringing on Red Dead Redemption? And then I take off my, I'm like, oh, but here's the thing.
Oh, such a good game.
And we talked about this when we did the live show after my late girlfriend passed away.
Right.
I've now decided it's late girlfriend because ex was just a weird phrase.
Yeah.
When she passed away, what really got me wasn't so much the emotions I was feeling is how I judged myself for those emotions. And, you know, we are all experiencing grief right now, which I found really, when I first heard that, I'm like, we're being a little dramatic here. But no, it's right. We are experiencing grief and the difficulty. And she died by suicide. Which, by the way, I don't think when we last talked, I had been exposed to the power of that phrase, died by suicide, as opposed to killed yourself or took their own life. I did not realize how crucially grateful those of us who've lost people in that way find that very small shift in language, died by suicide, because there's a lack of blame there. But to go back to Whitney, the thing about suicide is that it takes grief, which is difficult as it is, and wraps it up also with anger and guilt, right? Because why didn't I know? Why couldn't I do anything? And then there's just like, and you hate yourself for it, because then you think there is a moment where you're so angry. There's more than one moment where you're so mad at them. And then you feel guilty for being mad, and then you start to cry. So what I discovered was really destroying me in that time wasn't just the grief. It was judging myself for how I felt. Oh my God, I just laughed with my friends, but she only died a week ago. Like, what a horrible person I am. Or just so you know, like, I don't think we talked about this. I did not cry for 3.5 months after she died. I did not cry. And this is why I think I love your show so much, because it shares stories. I cried 3.5 months later for the first time because in Idaho, I was listening to a podcast called The Moth, and a woman in her story said, grief is just love coming face to face with its oldest enemy.
Yeah.
And I thought, and it was just her telling her story. She said this one line, I don't know why, but it broke in a good way. It broke this dam inside of me because someone had described it so perfectly. So for what it's worth, Whitney, a couple of things. One, I cannot, of course, you're exhausted. And I think recognizing that is important. But I also think for what it's worth, and this is coming from the outside, and maybe it's easier for me to say than it is to actually do because I'm not working the hours that you are. But the reason you're exhausted is because you're a goddamn warrior. And there is something about the phrase warrior that just brings strength to people. And what you're doing is fighting battles that other people are bitching about. Right? Like, oh my God, I'm stuck at home and I have to do my podcast from home. Not that you guys are saying it, or whatever trailer down by whatever river he's living, right? So how do you keep the leadership mindset? It's not your job to keep the leadership mindset. It's the job of everybody who you're serving to recognize that you are a leader. And even if they don't, I think that recognizing that at the end of all of this, 5 years from now, no matter how hard it is now, you will be prouder of yourself and you will deserve it much more compared to other people, all right? I think that the ability to put ourselves forward in time and look back on where we are now is so important. I wish I had a way of solving how you must feel every day, but I do want to say this. By getting up every day and getting exhausted, that is the leadership mindset. It is saying, I will do this even when it's hard. And like, look, this idea that I have 6 questions to try to do good things, look, I'm not a good guy. And I think that when you do a lollipop TED Talk or you speak, people assume you're a motivational speaker. They're looking for like this big upbeat guy. I'm so angry. I'm so pissed. I'm so cynical. But I don't want to treat the world like that. And so the reason I come up with these 6 questions isn't because I'm a good guy. It's because I'm a demon-filled guy. And these 6 questions are the process that I put in place between my darkest impulses and the way that I actually interact with the world. And I think that what happens is, maybe even Whitney, you're feeling this, is like, oh my God, I feel this way. It's wrong to feel this way. Look, somewhere along the way, somebody convinced us, these fucking gurus, that it's all about living life with love and being grateful every day. And look, you should do that, but it's also not how most people's lives work, right? Like, if you feel anger and jealousy, and when your friend asks you to move, your first response in your own head is fuck you, and then you immediately like, oh my God, that's my friend, I shouldn't think that. It is not negative thoughts that make you a bad person, and they're not character flaws. However, if you take your bad thoughts and turn them and allow them to go out there and be a dick, that's where there's a lack of leadership. So you don't have to have the leadership mindset. What you're doing is you're doing the leadership actions. And look, maybe not enough people are giving you credit for it, but you're a warrior, and God, now I do sound like a motivational speaker. And so,
well, I'm feeling motivated. So
you don't have to be more than what you're doing. You don't have to adopt a new mindset. And right now you probably don't have time to add more value to the world through doing other shit. And guess what? The rest of us, it's our job to pick up your slack. And if you can't empower someone today, or you can't recognize someone else's leadership today, or do some moment of kindness or forgiveness because you need 15 minutes of sleep anytime you can get it, tell you what, I think we should pick up the slack. And for anybody else who's watching here, Whitney, keep being a warrior, and we'll do the leadership mindset for you in the meantime. And I will tell you, there's a whole bunch of people out there who don't give a shit. There's, I bet you, a whole lot more who do. And I think that instead of just saying, hey, let's support our frontline healthcare workers, I think what we need to do is commit to doing the good deeds that you don't have time to and you don't have the energy to because you're doing something bigger. Damn, that was a rant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking
dude, yes.
That was like
you said.
Go ahead, Tim. I was gonna say that was
Drew,
that was some straight Drew Dudley shit right there. That was Mike Drop.
Yeah, it was.
I just fucking love you, man.
There was something in that reminded me of when you first started speaking, when we first started talking tonight. I was thinking about this when you were talking about the little things, and then it kind of popped up in my mind again when you said the part about when you said the part about, you know, it's like, you know, whoever the fucking gurus are telling us, you know, life, love, kindness, everything, like 24/7, which is like just not the reality. I mean, we are, and like I really resonated with what you said about with like the whole demon thing, but I'm recognizing that, and then I'm interacting with in the world in the way that I want to, not necessarily what my deepest impulses are doing, and how you can get caught up in the idea, or you can get caught up in like the unglamorous nature of life versus something like a movie. You know, a movie can go, okay, we're in New York, we need to go to London, and it's like bags packed at the airport, runway takeoff, lands, got my bags, and now you're here, and it's like it's a 4-clip montage. And, you know, Guy Ritchie makes it look really fucking exciting that you just went from London to New York, from New York to London. But really, it's like, if you actually follow the actual timeline of that, it's like a lot of waiting, a lot of sitting. The flight attendant brings you. It's actually really not glamorous at all getting on a plane and going from New York to London. It's actually very fucking whatever.
Yeah.
But
I don't miss it.
But it's made to seem like it's this way. And I thought that about the little things that, like, you know, if you took the montage of all the little things that you did that kind of add up to these, like, these really cool things. If you played those little things through as a montage, you'd be like, I'm fucking awesome. Like,
That's
you
so
would be,
cool.
you'd be the most badass. You'd be the most badass person.
I am stealing that shit hardcore. Like in my next speech, I am totally talking about that montage trick you just did, because it's so. It is like, it's like basically that's what Instagram is.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right.
That's
right.
That's such a good way of looking at it.
I do want to say,
if you were just to recognize that, like, the little things kind of are the meaningful things, and then you put those into a little, maybe a montage in your head, or whatever way you want to frame it. I mean, like, you might end up being able to see, you know, a lot of positive stuff coming out of, you know, what you might have thought was just like a really boring normal day, because it was 95% filled with, you know, really run of the mill regular reality shit.
Yeah.
I will say though, like, sorry, Drew, but I will say, like, in terms of being accountable, though, in terms of like your actions, I think that sometimes I almost err on the other side of like thinking really positive and nice thoughts and like feeling good in my head, but then sometimes my actions don't actually reflect the way that I actually feel or think in my head. So you talk about the guru mentality and like you be positive, you project kindness, you do all these things, but then if your actions don't actually follow through or add up, and sometimes it really probably impacts the people that you're closest to or you spend the time with the most, where they see the biggest impact. But like I think the biggest thing that I took away from that is like you need to have follow through. You're ultimately a result of your actions. Yeah. Even if you're thinking positively, if you're not following through and actually acting that out, then what's the point, right?
It's the worst form of pillow talk. I started to talk about because well, this kind of blew my mind when I thought about it. I kept falling asleep with my iPad right next to me, and I was like, I can't just turn it off and go to bed. And I just realized it's because the time between when you turn off whatever your final screen is and you put your head on the pillow and you actually fall asleep, it's the most terrifying time of my day. Because like the time between when you shut it off and you put your head on the pillow and you don't know how much time is going to pass between the head on the pillow and the sleep, all you have in that time is the awareness of the gap between who you want to be and how you're actually behaving. And there's no hiding from it. I think that's why so many of us want to fall asleep like listening to something or watching something, because it eliminates that dark pillow talk. I call it like the dark pillow talk. Yeah, and it's the most terrifying time in our lives. And I think that we got two choices. We can either fall asleep with our screens or try to close the gap. Look, man, what you're talking about is a premise of what I like to tell people about leadership. There's a gap between the person you want to be and how you're behaving. It exists for all of us. Don't feel bad about it. We rationalize it as temporary, always. We don't deny it's there, but we're like, I'll only have it till I graduate or pay off my student loans or till the wedding or till the baby comes or whatever. Leadership is this: recognizing the gap exists between the person you want to be and how you're behaving, recognizing it's your fault. Nobody else's. It's your responsibility, and then trying to close it a little bit every day. That's leadership. And I know we're closing off, so if I could just mention a couple of things. Like, I know it's like right now I'm doing like a weird hypomanic thing. Even I hear it because I'm bouncing all over. But not only do I love you guys, but I love the people who listen to you folks. And I know it's one thing to wax poetic on leadership, but what I always try to do is give actual stuff to go and do if you want that made my life better. Yeah. There is a speech called "This Is Water" by David Foster Wallace. And there's two versions online, a short version with cool like video clips and stock photos. And then there's just the boring ass one of him. And it's a commencement address. Listen to the long version. It's called "This Is Water." And he talks about what day in and day out means and what awareness means. And it is such a wonderful example of how you don't have to be the world's greatest speaker to drop jaws, because that's what he does. The other thing I would mention, you said about New Year's resolutions. Fuck New Year's. It's completely arbitrary. Sorry, I swear way too much when I'm tired. Think of the worst day of your life.
I think it's the first time you said fuck. I've literally said, I almost said the C word earlier, so it's okay.
Think of the worst day of your life, and I know this is weird, but that's your New Year's Day. Because January 1st, big deal. You lived for 365 days, although let's face it, that is a challenge. And I'm on a podcast where even in my TED Talk, I say we celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. Because 10 years ago, I did not fully understand or acknowledge how big an accomplishment that was to live 365 days. Like the white, straight, healthy dude privilege that came out of that goddamn statement. But think of the worst day of your life, because January 17th is my New Year's Day. Because what it does is it represents 1 year, another year where I made it, where I was strong, where I was resilient. That is an actual marker of an accomplishment. To go 365 days, another year from whenever that horrible thing happened, that is New Year's Day. And then you should celebrate because it's your New Year's Day. And it isn't just some weird party. It's a recognition of another successful year of recovery from whatever it was. And that to me is great. And the last thing I'll leave is unless you got some more questions from the audience, go back, open your phone, go back to the first photograph that you ever took. Like scroll all the way through. It was like 17,000 photos for me. And it's only 2015. That's when I got the iPhone. So go back to the first one, create a folder called The GOAT, and just the ones that, not any good one. It can't just be a good photo. It has to be one of those. And you might have seen on my Instagram now, I'm posting the GOAT, like the greatest photos, the ones that when I look at it, either how beautiful the photo is or how beautiful the moment it captured was or the people there, and just start scrolling through and create a new folder, like your version of the highlight reel almost, of just the photos that hit you impact you emotionally. And as you're doing that, you'll see faces in those photos that you're not in a fight with, you didn't have a falling out, you just, life happened. Maybe they had a baby and everyone becomes super. And as you see those faces, just send them a text with the photo. And you don't have to do it all in one day, but go back and start. That, my friends, is just one of those reach outs, a random photo from an old friend of a moment you shared together. And man, like you can do 2 or 3 of those a day. And in this time, for what it's worth, that has been something that's really made my life better going through all of this. It also answers some of those questions, because when people feel seen, it changes stuff. Like they don't have to feel inspired. They don't have to feel motivated. They just have to feel seen. And I also think that's probably something Sickboy does, is to give people the opportunity to come in and in many cases, listening to your episodes, say, this is the thing I've hidden from people and the details I've hidden as long as I can. And now I'm just going to be open about it. And like, come on, that's just, it's a gift. It's why I love all of you and why I gush every time I'm on this damn show. But what you do is you make people feel less alone. And for the guests that come on and share what I'm sure some people listen to and be like, how can you share that incredibly intimate thing about yourself? It's because that's a part of you that you've never felt has been seen, because you think that allowing people to see it will shape how they feel about the rest of you in a negative way. But I think what most of us have realized by becoming fans of your show is by showing the parts of you that people have thought are disgusting, or you thought are disgusting, or that people don't want to hear about, what you're actually doing is giving people for the first time in their life a chance to say, this is me, this is all of me, I get to feel seen. And that's a cool thing. And but what I think is cool is that while you've created a podcast to do it, every one of us can do it all the time. Like, let's just do it tomorrow to somebody.
Do it now.
Sending a text with an old photograph, an old photograph of someone that you haven't talked to in a while, what it does, it makes people feel seen. And that is a powerful tool that we all get.
Drew, you're over here gushing.
Can't
You're here fucking gushing. Brian's here crying. Taylor is a sociopath. He's just sitting there just like crunching numbers in his fucking head. This is this Drew. I gotta tell you, this is like it's a fucking treat every time we get to just regardless of having you on the show, but anytime we just get to spend any time with you, it's always so much fun. You have such an ability to make one just like take a step back and think and reevaluate and. You know, it's
I feel like I feel like you just give us an incredible permission to love ourselves. Like I just feel.
I'm
like,
sure you've never needed my permission to love yourself.
Yeah,
like
Brian's this close to starting to jerk off right now. He's like I gotta go love myself right now, guys.
That was not a guy thing.
We're about to have an emotional connection, and instead I'm like, oh, quick, throw a joke in there before like men have to show like emotional affection for one another. I'm like, hey, hold on. Before I finish that very thought, please allow me to toss some toxic masculinity.
I love
I can
this.
always bring it back. I genuinely love you, man. I
love you
think
guys
the world
too.
of you. And
You're all amazing, and I like the new hair too. When I first met you, it was like a rock
yeah,
star.
that's right. This has been amazing. I want to say, well, you know what, Drew, you kind of mentioned it. If there was one more question that we would throw to before we end this, there is one more question. We will hit this last one, and then we'll wrap it up. It comes from Sadie. Why are you guys so mean to Brian? Follow-up question, Brian, why are your jokes so terrible? You know what? We'll never know the answer to that, Sadie, so thank you for sending in that question there. And thank you all so much for fucking tuning in. This has been, I gotta say, I had no idea how this was gonna fucking go. There's so many screens open. I'm
This
like,
is the first one.
This is the first one.
And since we've got like no
live
audience, no like live audience feedback,
it's
we
so
actually still don't know.
It's absolutely fucking crazy. We have no idea right now, but I feel like this has been great.
You don't use Skype next time. Who uses Skype?
Yeah.
It was just like it was like getting invited to MySpace.
Oh my God, Drew! I asked that question yesterday. Apparently, it has something to do with the fucking.
It's called
software integration, all this
NDI.
shit.
It's called NDI technology.
Yesterday we get on Skype and I was like, "Why are we using Skype?"
Next time, everybody will see you on ICQ.
Yeah. that is it.
Right now, like 70% of your audience went. I don't know.
Wait, you're losing me. My mom just picked up the phone.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
Oh, sorry. I've got Kaza running and everything's going slower.
We're losing it here.
I'm downloading the new Kirk enthusiasm.
That is it for this week. Thank you guys so much for fucking tuning in. We love each and every one of you. And we can't fucking wait to do this again for reals next time. That is it for this week.
Is about this chair?
Jesus Christ, Taylor! I'm about to fucking wrap it up.
We don't need to ask people to.
No,
go to
I
Patreon,
know. I'm literally gonna say that's it for this. I know it's great because it's all patrons.
Nobody go to their Patreon until I get my shit. All right, I want everybody on my side here. Line up. Get ready, hit the button, put it in, don't click.
We're sending you a goddamn Everybody Dies shirt. All right, Drew?
Send an email at that moment saying, I'm about to make a donation, but that Drew Dudley guy, he still seems to be without his death.
Fuck's sakes. That is it. That is it for this week.
I'm Brian.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Jeremy, and this is Drew, and this is Sickboy.